An interlude, Georgia on my mind. Between yesterday and tomorrow, a collection of short stories from Val's Sanctuary of Creativity. Entering the U.S. state of Georgia, the sign reads, "Welcome, we're glad Georgia's on your mind." I joked a bit about how that will most likely not be happening. I thought about President Jimmy Carter as a peanut farmer. My mother in Italy wanted me to buy her peanuts from his farm back in the days. The thought of it made me smile. I revisited scenes from Gone with the Wind and awaited glimpses of familiarity. In my mind, I pictured juicy beaches, cotton fields, Victorian homes, voluptuous black mamas in their Sunday hats, and I thought about the Georgia Guidestones. We passed the exit for Jekyll Island, which made me think of Christmas Eve, Deception, and the Federal Reserve. We took the exit off the highway that leads to the Satilla shores. We were visiting my friend's sister, whom he had not seen or heard from in almost 2 decades. Linda in Spanish means pretty, and pretty she is. Petite in stature, with a bright smile, colored lips, and wispy grayish curls poking out from under her baseball cap. She had a girlish demeanor, and it didn't show on her face that she is in her 6th decade. Before we arrived at her home, I was given some information on this sister. She was crazy and had crazy beliefs. Her husband was even crazier than her. She had offended my friend beyond repair. He had felt deeply hurt by what she had said. It had to do with belief systems. There was nothing he could have changed, and he had done no wrong. The sister had anticipated our visit and had prepared a charcuterie spread of meats and cheeses, including venison. We were in the midst of hunting country, a big contrast for the vegetarian brother. Linda wasted no time in using me as a channel of communication in order to reach her brother. I willingly complied, as I loved this peacemaking stuff. She was anxious to share with her beloved brother. It had been 17 long years since she saw him last. The gates opened, and she told me all that she wanted to convey to him about her life. She shared with me in a way that she would not normally share with a stranger. She told me the story of how she prayed to God for the perfect husband and how her wish was granted. It was a beautiful account, and it touched her brother deeply. She expressed how safe she feels within the boundaries of an Orthodox religion and its rituals. It was the beginning of the Great Lent, and there would be no meat and dairy for the lengthy fast of body and mind until Easter. I showed my respect by acknowledging her Russian icons on my friend's behalf. The resemblance between brother and sister was uncanny. Their eyes and the cynicism, the humor and their strong convictions, opposing yet the same. It's funny how they both have a gift of imitating accent, slang, and mannerism. They both like comfort, and they both have created it for themselves. The brother has 2 well-trained dogs which give him pride. They are his babies. The sister allows her dogs run off the house and showers them with treats. They are her babies. We went for a walk with all 4 dogs. First, we walked eastbound to the marshland shores of the Satilla. There were houses for sale to the left and to the right. I heard stories of flooding and murder, warnings of biting ants and snakes while collecting grapefruit off an abandoned property. all under the coastal beating Georgia heat. It was only the end of February. Back home at the crossroads, we greeted a neighbor from across the street and we continued our walk in the southern direction. We met another neighbor. There was small talk. The sister was happy to introduce her brother. "You have a brother," exclaimed the neighbor. Then more stories about a neighbor's recent COVID death, how she purchases ivermectin on Walmart.com, the need for self-sufficiency on this part of the land, and then the big one. She pointed straight ahead towards north. That's where it happened. Our visit marked the 2-year anniversary of the event. By now she knows that her beloved, her perfect little neighborhood, that sweet Georgia nook will never be the same again. I can see why she loved living there, at the edge of the waterways that lead to the Atlantic Ocean. A quiet, unpretentious, abundant piece of land with magnolia trees, Spanish moss-draped oaks, the palm trees in front of her house spell home. Citrus fruit hanging in clusters, game and silence. This was not her native land. A young black man was shot and killed by 3 white men up the street. The 3 white men have since been sentenced to life in prison. The case had turned from a self-defense case to a national race trial. The story I heard from the sister is as follows. It was the end of February. Property crimes had been reported leading up to the shooting. Houses had been broken into and guns had been stolen. She had felt safe with her neighbor up the street being a police officer, and the men in the neighborhood watching out for one another. It was the officer's son that had pulled the trigger. She was thinking of taking his dog. At first nothing happened. Then they came in busloads from Atlanta. BLM. And they stayed. Leading up to the trial, she received a 13-page questionnaire. I could tell from her voice that it was offensive to her, and she let them have it. I didn't ask her what she meant. Back home, the brother collected some lemons from the sister's backyard. There was a long-awaited hug between the two and a quick goodbye. We drove west to head up north. I most probably will never see that sweet lady again or feel the sadness hovering over her neighborhood. One thing I know for sure. There was nothing crazy about her as far as I could tell. She was just a woman desperately seeking peace in a time of war. We set up campsite by the river. Only a campfire could save us from the pesky tiny critters that come out at dusk in Georgia. I felt satisfied, my friend successful, and I am sure that his sister was feeling some peace. Here I am now reminiscing about a 60-minute interlude, and Georgia is still on my mind. May love win over beliefs every day and every time. Amen.